Millions of tourists are disappearing from Asia's most popular destinations. Beaches that were once packed with crowds now stand deserted. Hotels sit empty, and entire economies that once relied heavily on international visitors are collapsing. But what caused this? Why is Asia's once thriving tourism empire suddenly falling apart? From visa restrictions and travel advisories to political unrest and climate disasters, 10 Asian countries are witnessing their tourism industries crumble. The financial consequences are devastating. Stay tuned to see which country tops the list, because number one isn't just losing money, it's on the verge of a complete tourism meltdown. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, like, and click the notification bell so you never miss more engaging content. Number 10. Indonesia. Indonesia, once celebrated as a tropical paradise with dreamlike islands such as Bali and Lombok, is facing a severe decline in tourism. According to a July 2025 report by the Asian Development Bank, Indonesia's tourism revenue has dropped nearly 40% compared to the previous year. The reasons are alarming: a combination of backlash against overtourism, decaying infrastructure, and increasing crime in tourist hubs. International travelers are expressing serious safety concerns, particularly after reports of violent incidents in Bali and inadequate emergency responses in rural resort areas. Rising airfare costs are also discouraging visitors, who are turning instead to alternative Southeast Asian destinations. Local businesses that once thrived on foreign spending are shutting down. Hotels are running at less than 30% occupancy, souvenir markets are abandoned, and even the famous Ubud rice terraces now echo with silence, far removed from their usual energy of visitors and yoga retreats. Attempts by the Indonesian government to pivot toward digital nomads and long-stay visa programs are failing. Many digital workers are leaving due to unreliable internet, complex visa rules, and safety concerns. Number 9. Vietnam. Vietnam, once hailed as the poster child of Southeast Asia's post-COVID tourism recovery, now feels eerily quiet. The lantern-lit streets of Hoi An, which used to overflow with international travelers, are dim. Tour boat operators in Halong Bay are reporting mass cancellations, citing global travel slowdowns, overcrowding, weak infrastructure, and pushy vendor behavior. Visitor numbers have dropped by over 37% since early 2024, according to the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism. Airlines have reduced flights to Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City due to falling demand, leaving local hospitality businesses struggling. Luxury resorts designed for waves of Western visitors are now offering steep discounts just to attract domestic travelers. The government's inconsistent messaging has worsened the situation. While one ministry sets ambitious tourist targets, others impose stricter visa rules and higher taxes on tourist services. This confusion has frustrated travel agencies and driven away tour groups from Europe and North America. Viral social media videos depicting chaotic scenes at tourist hotspots have further damaged Vietnam's reputation. Western influencers are now advising followers to choose other destinations, citing inconsistent service, overcharging, and safety risks. Vietnam, once known as Asia's affordable gem, is now facing a crushing setback. The country hoped to reach 18 million tourists in 2025, but insiders suggest even 11 million is an optimistic goal. The quiet markets of Hanoi and the calm along the Mekong River tell a sobering story. Vietnam's tourism miracle is unraveling. Number 8. Bhutan. Bhutan, once considered the last untouched paradise, carefully protected with limits on mass tourism, is now facing a dramatic collapse. In 2025, the government's new daily tourist tax, initially designed to protect the environment and culture, has backfired. Visitor numbers have dropped by more than 50% since the policy was introduced. Tour operators who once had months-long waiting lists now face empty calendars. Even luxury travelers, Bhutan's primary audience, are avoiding the country. Many argue that the tax, which can be as high as $200 per person per day, is excessive, especially when neighboring countries offer similar natural beauty without the financial burden. Compounding the issue, Bhutan has not kept up with infrastructure upgrades. Flights to Paro International Airport remain limited, and many high-end hotels have been slow to reopen after the pandemic. Travelers who do visit are reporting delays, cancellations, and a shortage of trained guides, leading to poor reviews on global travel platforms. Although the government recently reduced the daily fee for some nationalities, critics say the move is too late. Bhutan's economy, which depends heavily on tourism revenue to fund sustainability and cultural preservation efforts, is now under serious threat. Ironically, in trying to preserve its identity, Bhutan may have priced itself out of relevance. Number 7. The Maldives. The Maldives, once the jewel of Indian Ocean tourism, is experiencing a sharp downturn. In 2025, the beaches that attracted celebrities, honeymooners, and wealthy travelers from around the globe now sit empty. Resorts that once had long waiting lists are offering massive discounts to fill rooms. Tourism, which makes up nearly 30% of the Maldives' GDP, is now in crisis. Geopolitical tensions and regional travel warnings have discouraged visitors from key markets such as China and Europe. Concerns over climate change and carbon footprints have also caused travelers to reconsider long-haul island vacations. Reports show international arrivals have fallen nearly 48% compared to pre-2023 levels. Airlines are reducing flights to Malé, and luxury cruise lines are removing the Maldives from their itineraries. Workers who once thrived in the booming tourism industry now face mass layoffs and dwindling opportunities. Although the government has launched visa-free entry expansions and eco-tourism campaigns, progress is slow. Critics argue that these efforts are surface-level fixes for a much deeper problem. If the Maldives cannot redefine its global brand, its tourism industry may sink along with the rising seas. Number 6. Nepal. Nepal, home to the Himalayas and the gateway to Mount Everest, is watching its tourism lifeline slip away. In 2025, trekking routes that once attracted adventurers from around the world now stand quiet. Tour operators have reported a 55% decline in bookings, especially from Western countries. The crisis is fueled by climate-related issues and global instability. Unpredictable weather has shortened trekking seasons and made routes more dangerous, while political instability in neighboring regions has scared off travelers. Earthquake memories still linger, compounded by today's economic and infrastructure struggles. Tourism is Nepal's largest source of foreign exchange, supporting over 1 million jobs. With the decline, entire mountain communities are facing collapse. Guesthouses in popular trekking areas like Annapurna and Langtang are closing, while local guides seek other work or leave the country altogether. Government campaigns to promote heritage and wellness tourism have failed to gain traction, largely due to limited budgets and slow digital modernization. Unless Nepal develops innovative strategies to revive its tourism industry, the consequences will be devastating not only for cities but also for remote villages dependent on seasonal visitors. 5. Pakistan. Pakistan faces an increasingly precarious future, shaped by a combination of political instability, economic fragility, and rising extremism. The country's reliance on international loans has deepened its debt crisis, leaving its financial system vulnerable to collapse. Inflation has eroded purchasing power, and frequent political upheavals have further weakened investor confidence. Security concerns, especially linked to militant groups and cross-border tensions, continue to destabilize both governance and public life. With limited structural reforms and mounting external pressure, Pakistan risks being locked in a cycle of economic stagnation and political unrest. 4. Myanmar. Myanmar's decline has been one of the most visible in Asia. Since the military coup in 2021, the country has been plunged into widespread conflict, economic isolation, and humanitarian crises. International sanctions have crippled trade and investment, while domestic instability has disrupted supply chains and public services. Millions are displaced, and essential sectors like healthcare and education remain paralyzed. Myanmar, once seen as a promising frontier economy, is now on the brink of long-term collapse unless political reconciliation and democratic reforms can be restored. 3. Afghanistan. Afghanistan continues to endure profound challenges following decades of war, foreign intervention, and internal conflict. Since the Taliban regained control in 2021, the country has struggled with international isolation, frozen assets, and a collapsing economy. Humanitarian crises have worsened as poverty, food insecurity, and unemployment affect the majority of the population. Women and minorities face severe restrictions, limiting social progress and economic growth. While Afghanistan's geopolitical position makes it strategically important, its instability has left it heavily dependent on humanitarian aid, with little sign of sustainable recovery. 2. North Korea. North Korea remains one of the most isolated and repressive states in the world. The government's focus on military expansion and nuclear ambitions has come at the expense of its people, leaving the population facing chronic food shortages, poor healthcare, and limited freedoms. International sanctions have further weakened its already fragile economy, while trade restrictions have deepened reliance on limited allies such as China and Russia. Although the regime maintains a strong grip on power, its isolation ensures that North Korea continues to face an uncertain future, marked by hardship and dependence. 1. Thailand. Thailand, once considered one of Southeast Asia's most promising economies, is now experiencing a steady decline driven by political turmoil and economic stagnation. Years of alternating military and civilian governments have hindered democratic reforms and discouraged foreign investment. The tourism industry, a major driver of the economy, has struggled to recover fully after the pandemic. Meanwhile, widening inequality and youth-led protests reveal deep social discontent. Without decisive political reforms and long-term economic restructuring, Thailand risks losing its competitive edge in the region, slipping further behind its neighbors. Across Asia, the challenges facing these nations are complex and deeply rooted in political, social, and economic realities. From Pakistan's financial instability to Myanmar's conflict, Afghanistan's humanitarian crisis, North Korea's isolation, and Thailand's political stagnation, each case underscores how fragile progress can be in the absence of stability and reform. While Asia is home to many of the world's fastest-growing economies, these 5 countries highlight the other side of the story, where unresolved crises, poor governance, and structural weaknesses continue to push nations toward decline. The future of these countries will depend on whether they can overcome entrenched challenges and embrace meaningful change before it is too late.